Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to this Keptn community meeting. I hope you can see my screen. I just did the screen sharing. All good. And yeah, it's October 15th. We are pretty much in releasing a new version of Keptn. I guess we will hear a little bit more later on. What I just want to mention a couple of things in the beginning. Again, our housekeeping rules. We are a CNCF project, so we are following the CNCF code of conduct. That basically means be nice to each other in the chat and also on audio and on video. We're very happy to see our community growing, and especially in the CommunityBridge. That's a program, a mentoring program from the CNCF. So we are happy to have 2 mentees for the next couple of weeks in this mentoring program, and they are working on basically 2 issues on improving Keptn. So we are really happy to see this happening. Then Keptn is also part of the Hacktoberfest. We submitted a couple of issues to the Hacktoberfest. So if you are interested in contributing to an open source project, feel free to do so. We are really happy to accept contributions in these weekly calls. Right now, like in these calls like this, we have a huge part of the Keptn development team here, so you can also ask questions or present your contributions. And on GitHub, you will find under the search term Hacktoberfest, you will find also Keptn, and our issues are also tagged with Hacktoberfest. So we are happy to see some contributions there. And then one other part, the Keptn community meetings, they are now added also to the CNCF, to the official CNCF calendar. So if you take a look at the CNCF calendar, and maybe you're interested also in other open source projects, there are a lot of great projects out there. You can subscribe to this calendar and you will also see the Keptn community meetings. Just make sure when you click on this that it reflects also your time zone. So in my case, it doesn't do a good job here. But if you go to more details or copy to my calendar, then you will see it in your calendar, and then it's the correct time. So actually that should be the correct time. It's just, I think, the UTC and not UTC +2.
It looks like that Thursday is a busy day for CNCF projects.
Yeah. Thursday, 3 p.m. Yeah, we are in competition with the Vitesse monthly meeting. But for example, next week, 3 p.m. is all ours. So yeah, but you can see it's a lot of community meetings, a lot of SPEC meetings from the CNCF, and also Keptn now is part of this. So make sure you have this in your calendar and never miss any Keptn community meetings. Yeah, the other parts, we pretty much talk about them every week. So for this week, I will skip them, and I already will hand over to Florian to talk a little bit about his improvements to Keptn in the last week. And again, if there is someone in the audience who also wants to share the screen, please just let us know in the chat. Or in the Q&A section, you can ask the question. So we try to address everything during this meeting.
All right, thank you, Jürgen. You should see my screen already. All right, today I want to show you 2 issues I have worked on during this week. The first one basically addresses the recent changes that GitHub introduced about their repositories. So you might have heard that since the beginning of October, if you create a new GitHub repository, the main or the default branch will not be called master anymore, but now it's going to be called main. It's a change that GitHub made to be more inclusive. But unfortunately, this led to problems for projects that were created in Keptn with a GitHub upstream repository, where that already was the case. And therefore, we have added a fix for that for the upcoming Keptn version, which is going to be 07.2. So basically what we did here was we basically just made sure that the master branch exists. And if no master branch is there on the upstream repository, we're going to create it, and then everything will be working as you're used to as a user. So from a user perspective, nothing will change. So this is the fix I've done for the upcoming version, because this is done this way because we didn't want to introduce too many changes in the logic of how our configuration service communicates with the upstream repository. So that was the safest approach that we could do within this short time frame, because this issue arose during our release process. But for the next version, for 0.8, I have implemented a different approach where where the configuration service actually retrieves the information about the upstream repository using the git show remote command. And in the output of that command, it will get the information about the default branch. So in that case, on a GitHub repository, this will tell the configuration service that the default branch is called main, and then the configuration service uses that name of that branch to create all the other branches and do the communication with the upstream repository. All right. Are there any questions about that?
I would have a question on this. So for me as a user, that means if I do this, let's say tomorrow with the new release, there will be a main and a master branch for every Keptn repository. And then starting with Keptn 0.8, the master will be gone. There will be only main and then the different branches for different stages.
Exactly, yeah. So for the version that's going to be released in the next days, the master branch will be created if it's not there. But then in the next versions, this will not be the case anymore. So from there on, it will not create a master branch if a user chooses to use a different name for the default branch of the upstream repo.
Florian, just one quick note. Please don't let me forget that we need to remove the warning that we put in place on the documentation, because there is now a warning that says that there must be a master branch, but with your improvement, we can remove this warning.
Yeah, exactly.
I also have one suggestion. If you're doing this on GitHub, then normally on GitHub you can define one master or main branch, like the default branch, and that's always set to master or main. So probably, I guess right now it's set to main, but if we're creating the master branch, the main will be empty. So that could be something that we can give a hint to the user if you're using this and the main branch is empty, but it's always defaulting to the main branch, that probably set your default branch to the master so that you can see something.
Yeah. All right. If there are no further questions about that issue, I want to continue with the next one. So this is also a change that's going to be included in the version that's going to be released within the next few days, so 0.7.2. This is a very small change, but an important one. So we noticed that we use the image pull policy always in our deployments, in the Helm charts or in a Keptn installer Helm chart. And this image pool policy might lead to failures if you are, for example, in an air-gapped system. And therefore, we have changed it to if not present. And this should help to remediate or to mitigate these problems. Any questions about that? All right, if not, I will hand over to Christian.
Thanks. So I only have a small topic today to talk about, not even a pull request, but something that's ongoing. We noticed a couple of problems this week with name server lookups within the Kubernetes cluster. And in fact, they're not related to Keptn at all. But we want to discuss them briefly in case you run into the same error. There's also going to be an advisory on GitHub soon, or at least a troubleshooting section on our docs soon. So I'll take that on my agenda to create the issues in the troubleshooting section. So basically, what did we see? We saw error messages. I hope you can read them in the Prometheus SLI service and also in other services that basically say something like the lookup of event broker.keptn.service cluster local failed. Sometimes it's also not the event broker, it could be any service within our cluster, but we usually access them using the fully qualified domain names in the Kubernetes cluster, which are made out of, which consist of the service name, the namespace the service lives in, and service.cluster.local. So that kind of thing failed on us on several occasions now. And we were like really puzzled what is going on. And thank you to Thomas Schütz, who isn't here right now, but big thank you to him. He helped us in troubleshooting this. And we found out that it had something to do with the local name server configuration, or rather more Linux's resolve.conf file, and the way that Kubernetes uses it in certain instances. So let's describe the symptom first for an instance. If I do a wget on, I'm logged into my Kubernetes cluster right now. So this is a pod in my cluster, and I just do a wget event broker.keptn.service cluster local. This is what happens. I have to wait a little bit, and eventually I get an error message saying bad address. And I'm like, this is not a bad address. This is an address that Kubernetes should understand. But okay, I'm an engineer. I can go further and I say, give me the IP address of that service using NSLOOKUP. And usually it works. So maybe you're like me and you're now like, okay, I don't know what's going on. Then you go to an engineer that knows a lot of Kubernetes, like Thomas, and he will tell you that this has something to do with your resolve conf, which is inherited on the cluster. And yeah, essentially what we have in here, I need to show this right now. We have a search domain path in here, and one of these is just not valid or returns something that's not good, and that only happens in combination with options n.5, which is something that Kubernetes sets by default. Yeah, but there's not much we can do about that except for removing some search domains or removing that setting, but that's something the server administrator needs to do. That's nothing that Keptn can do. But essentially, this is the way you can find out if you get something like that, whether you're affected. Another way to find out, this is also something I want to show you, you can test it by using this command. Essentially, I'm going to copy it here. We're using kubectl to run an Alpine 3.11 because that's what we base our images on. And within that Alpine container, we run wget with this domain, so event broker.keptn service cluster local. And in this case, this will work because I have already configured my system properly. The shell that you saw before, I had to manually import the wrong configuration, but this should now work. There we go, it works. And the way you can see it works is you get a correct HTTP response. It says HTTP 400 bad request, but this is something that was actually responded by the event broker in this case. Another way you can try it out if you're not using Keptn, but if you just want to check if Kubernetes is behaving as normal, you can use this one, where you access the Kubernetes internal API using kubernetes.default.service-cluster-local, and it will also reply with an HTTP error, unauthorized, because you need an API token for Kubernetes. But yeah, this error is okay. This is expected. But if you get like bad address or something like that, then yeah, then you might be affected by this problem. As already said, I noticed a couple of people having similar issues. This could be something related to global name servers as well. I'm not sure about that, but if you are affected, go to your system administrator, ask them about the name server configuration, and double check your etcresolve.conf. Yeah, and as mentioned, I'll write a troubleshooting section entry about that.
Cool. We got one question from Ankit from the community, which is the wrong search domain. So I think it refers to the.
Yeah.
Can you share it again? Which one was the correct?
In this case, it was a Dynatrace internal search domain that's not behaving as it should. I'm not fully involved in the process of that yet. I just know that this specific domain is the wrong one, but you can just remove one domain and then try again. I don't want to share the domain right now because I think that's some internal stuff that's going on. But you can check it if you just open the etcresolve.conf and remove one search domain and try another one. Yeah, Ankit also is just saying, suggesting to set ndots to 1. Yep, that's one of the options we are considering to use it in a later stage. You can override the DNS configuration of Kubernetes in your deployment manifest. It's a good input, but we're not 100% sure if that's something we want to do because it has some impact on how you work with Kubernetes. But at the same time, we've had people report in several blog posts that apparently setting ndots to 1 is much more performant. But I'll open an issue on that, and we can take the discussion in this issue. I'm pretty sure there's some better engineers, more qualified engineers that know about the ndots and DNS settings a little bit more than I do, and then we can discuss it there. All right. The next one in the list is Bernd. Bernd, do you have any pull requests to present? Or do you want to present any of your pull requests?
Yes, I can actually show you a rather small thing I've worked on. Let me share my screen. Okay, yeah, this pull request is already merged, and it was dealing with a missing triggered ID field in the Swagger definition of the MongoDB data store. So this pull request or the changes are not very spectacular. I've just added the triggered ID to the Swagger definition and regenerated the server code of the MongoDB data store. And the screenshots I've added here demonstrates that in the bridge, actually, this triggered ID is now visible and also has the correct value, which is more or less a link to. So here we see approval triggered event, which is an ID, and the triggered ID value should be the same as the one from the triggered approval triggered event, which is the case. So I've just added the screenshots to show you that it's now working, and that's actually all I have to say.
All right. Any questions on that PR by anyone else? Okay, then thank you for your PR. All right, I'm looking at Johannes because you're not on the list. Do you have anything else we could go?
I don't have an issue to talk about as I was busy with another project, and I was
Right.
mainly working on the documentation. But we can jump over to the working items.
We have two
Can I
attendees. Yeah.
add one thing, or actually two things? So I don't have anything to share yet, but just as a little bit of a spoiler. So there will be, we are working closely with two contributors on new additions to Keptn. So there will be a service released pretty soon, probably already tomorrow, to trigger chaos tests from Keptn. So we are working with the Litmus community. It's Litmus Chaos. That's their CNCF project. We're working with them to also have this included in Keptn and be able to trigger chaos tests from Keptn. So probably that's something I can show next week. We're also working on integrating Ansible Tower into Keptn. That's also something that should be released pretty soon, but probably not this week. And one shout out here also, or not shout out, more like a request. If someone is interested in helping us out in improving the Keptn website, please reach out to us. We do have, we don't have a GitHub issue yet, but we will create a GitHub issue for the website soon, and we are thinking about renewing the website. So if someone from the Keptn community is knowledgeable in CSS or any or Hugo, the framework that we are using, or just wants to contribute with some content for the website, we are happy to hear your feedback. Yeah, just reach out to us if you are a front-end wizard. We are happy to hear your feedback on this. Yeah, so that's just some working items that are in the process right now. And yeah, I'm handing back to Johannes, I guess, to jump to the roadmap.
I was just going to ask, we have two attendees, Ankit and Ayush, if you have any pull requests you need reviewed, or if you have anything that you want to share.
In the meanwhile, I was also taking a look into the in reviews section, and Ankit has one PR in there.
Okay, so that's great. That's great. Ankit, I will promote you so you can also share your screen. And yeah, I think he's just coming back here. Perfect.
Hi, thank you.
Hi,
Yeah,
Ankit.
I have few PRs which is pending for review, I think. Let me show you. Visible? Yeah. So there is one PR for fixing the bug in creating Shipyard file. It's a HTTP Shipyard file. So before that, this is being, I think, done some. I don't remember the name. It is being fixed. Feature requested in this issue. I think 1648. It is being done by Anupul. But he introduced a bug while doing this. He left to pass the content body of the Shipyard file to our create project command. So which I have taken care of. I have fixed this issue, and I think it is being reviewed. I need to cross check the comments, and will raise the PR again. Raise the PR. Sorry, I'll fix this. And there is one more issue, removing the distributor from API service and control plane. It is already merged, the issue that we have while deploying the Keptn control, deploying the Keptn Kubernetes cluster. So because there is missing distributor topics, which puts the pod in crashback, which is being fixed in this PR. Other than that, there is one more issue that is being raised by, I think, Jordan or Christian, I think, I'm not sure. Improve post-installation steps. So it is still in pending state. Christian has already left the comments for this PR, whether to expose API endpoint and API token in the command line in the shell during Travis installation or any other thing. So it is pending for review.
Maybe we can talk about this one right now. So just to get everyone on the same page, the implementation that he did is fine. He did it according to the what was stated in the issue. My concern now is really, do we want to print the API URL and the API token on console when doing a Keptn install, because that means for any system that uses automation, and Travis CI is one of them, you will see this in a public log file, and anyone can essentially just abuse it if they want to.
I think we can remove API token. Keeping the endpoint is safe.
Token.
Yeah,
That's
that was previously before.
Yeah.
Would it make sense to have something to basically get rid of using kubectl? So during the Keptn installation, you usually don't need kubectl. You do a Keptn install, and then for some parts we need kubectl, for some parts we don't. So it would be, in general, it would be cool if we can use Keptn without using kubectl.
Yeah, I have.
If there is some Keptn command, we have already Keptn configure bridge that should. It's not right now printing the endpoint to the bridge, but it's printing the bridge credentials. And if we can do something for Keptn configure endpoint minus output, and we get the endpoint. So just one improvement to stay a little bit more in the Keptn universe and not having to use too much of the kubectl parts.
Just one thing. So kubectl endpoint output is after the kubeauth command, Keptn auth command, right? So when we authenticate our Keptn CLI with the cluster with the proper API endpoints and token, then we can run the command Keptn auth and export endpoint output, right? So export where it will output the endpoint and API token. So other than that, if we don't want to use kubectl binary, then we can use kubeclient to fetch the endpoint from the load balancer or node port. Other than that, if we don't want to expose API token, then we can put the output as it was previously before. But yeah, while like Keptn also uses kubectl during help command because it checks for the kubectl version and everything. So I think we can't actually get rid of it with kubectl binary completely right now. Because it's tightly coupled even with the help command. When I run Keptn help, it checks for the kubectl binary or version for the kubectl binary, right?
I'm not sure if I understood correctly. What was the question? If you run Keptn help,
it will check for the kubectl version.
Does it check for if kubectl is installed?
I'm not sure, but I think we do have a check if kubectl is installed. At least that's what we used to have. Maybe Florian can help me out here.
Does the Keptn CLI has any dependency on kubectl?
I know we used to have it, but
we used to have it definitely, but I'm not 100% sure if that's the case currently. We'll need to double check on that.
Sure, I'll check as well.
All right. So how do we continue? Anyway, how do we continue with the PR? Should we just hide the token and print the kubectl command for now? Because anything beyond that, I think, is a follow-up issue anyway.
Yeah, printing the token is convenient, but it's a security issue. And I think what Christian mentioned is correct. We should not print the token and do a follow-up issue on the other parts.
Sure. Then I'll make the changes accordingly.
Thank you.
Yeah, these are the following issues that I want to highlight. Thanks a lot.
Yes, thanks for contributing. Cool. All right. Yeah, then I will. Is someone else in the call who wants to present something?
I see we have more people joining. So if you want to present something, please indicate in the chat or in the Q&A. But maybe we can already switch to the next parts, and if there's something.
Then I will switch over to our working items. That one we currently discussed. That's, yeah, this one we talked about. Then let's have a look into the issues that are ready for review. Christian, I gave you feedback on that one.
I saw that I still need to work the feedback into the pull request. I'll see if I can get it done tomorrow.
Okay.
Thanks for the feedback.
You're welcome. Then Florian, you were also working on an issue for invalidating quality gate evaluation results this week. Are you going to present it next week?
Yes, so it's pretty much done and implemented. I just wanted to wait with the PR until after we've released version 0.7.2, so it doesn't get merged into the current release branch accidentally.
Makes totally sense.
Yeah.
Okay, then we leave it in there.
Right, I've shown this one, but I think there is the PR for the master branch that's not reviewed yet.
Use the default branch of origin. Yes, this is the PR for the master branch. Exactly. Yeah, but I think during the next week we will get it reviewed, and then we can close this issue as you presented it today. Okay, then Ermin is not on the call today. He has 3 pull requests and 3 issues to show us next time. And we talked about that one, which is about the improvement of the post-installation command, post-installation steps for the installation command. All right, yeah, I don't want to go into much details about those items that are in progress or assigned and committed. If someone wants or needs feedback, please raise your hand and let us know. The only thing I want to point out that that we are currently finalizing the release 0.7.2. As you can see here, 123 checkboxes are closed, and a couple of issues are still, or a couple of tasks are still open, but we are going to release it very soon.
Actually, almost all of them are done. The ones that are still open, like we ignored them or skipped them for reasons, and we only need to really finish the release, write release notes and stuff like that, and that's it.
Just to give you an idea where we are.
You can scroll down.
I will scroll down. Those are the checkboxes that are not checked because it was not necessary to release the Kubernetes utils. And when we go down, we can see that Keptn officially is, the binaries are there for the entire Keptn. Also the CLI and the Helm installer is provided. And now we are getting to the final steps. All right, yeah, stay tuned and try it out on the weekend. Then other than that, the other documentation is going to be updated as well. And then we have a couple of issues that are in progress. Yep. Then I will also skip the assigned and committed column. And we'll directly jump to the backlog where we have issues that we want to work on the next week. And the first one is explaining the requirements for the execution plan service in the dev, in the documentation. And maybe as a quick reminder, let me just show you one slide to make it more obvious what this change in the documentation is also focusing on. As we talked about the Shipyard in version 0.2, which is the next version of the Shipyard file, I explained you that with this new version, we will have here in the Shipyard a sequence in a stage, and a sequence then consists of multiple tasks, and those tasks are executed sequentially. This means that when this sequence gets triggered, then the deployment task is triggered. After the deployment, the test, then the evaluation, then there is an approval task, and finally the release task. And what the Shipyard Controller will do, it will send out an sh.Keptn event deployment triggered, and the Shipyard Controller is waiting for two events. The first one is deployment.finished, and there is also, and the Shipyard Controller also waits for the deployment, he waits for the started as well as for the finished event. And this is what we need to consider in the documentation. When someone writes a contribution or a service for the execution plane of Keptn, then this service must behave like that. This service must listen on a triggered event. He responds with a started, and finally he also responds with a finished event. Yeah, this is what need to be written down in our documentation.
Johannes, how would that change the already existing services? For example, when we already have the remediation action triggered and remediation action finished, they already seem to implement this. Is this, for the remediation part, is this already done, or would we have to change them?
Yeah, no, for the remediation part, we are almost on a good side.
Okay.
There is just one other thing I want to point out later, but for all the other execution services, we need to touch them.
Okay.
That is, yeah, 0.8 will be a breaking change when it comes to eventing mechanism.
And that also affects the SLI services?
Correct. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Is someone up for writing the documentation for this new feature? Otherwise, I will take it on my agenda. Assign it to yourself. Okay. And as we are currently discussing this topic, let me jump directly to another issue, which is called Guide for Using New Keptn Cloud Events in Keptn Contrib and Keptn Sandbox. This issue is a kind of meta issue because it's just a summary of what we have to do to make all contributions and sandbox projects work with Keptn 0.8. And here I've written down all repos that we need to touch, with a main focus on the repos that are in Keptn Contrib, but I also included relevant ones that are in Sandbox. And what you can see here is actually just a list of pull requests in the different repositories. And what we need to work on is, first of all, we need to upgrade each service to use the Cloud Events 0.1 specification and Cloud Events 1.0 library. And we also need to make the service, change the behavior of the service in the sense of listening to a triggered event and responding with a started and finished event. For example, we need to do this for the Dynatrace SLI service, then for the Prometheus SLI service, and so on. And yeah, this is when someone wants to actually learn how an executing service is working, I think this is actually a good starting point, because there you get in touch with the events that are on the one hand received and then sent back by the service. And when you understand this concept, which is not that difficult, then you're really on a good level to start writing your own Keptn service. And yeah, we are looking for help especially for this issue. As you can see, there are a lot of services we have to touch in the next week or next weeks. And Jürgen, one note to you. As you have a very good understanding and overview of what external contributions are there, we also should consider adding those to this list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To keep track which ones we have updated and which ones still need support or need help to get the eventing done.
Right now we have most of the external services in Keptn Sandbox.
Mm-hmm.
When you scroll, is there also a Keptn Sandbox list, or is only Keptn Contrib?
For now, it's mainly focused on Keptn Contrib, but just added the statistics service from the Sandbox. But it would make sense to also keep track on those that are in Sandbox. And
mm-hmm.
Please let's use this meta issue for that.
Yeah. Good idea.
All right, yeah. And below this meta issue, there are then all the pull requests that are mentioned in this issue. Here is the update of the cloud events for the Dynatrace service, the update of the cloud events SDK for the Dynatrace SLI service, and so on and so on. As I said, when someone wants to work on a contribution or on a Keptn service, please feel free to let us know, and then we will assign it to you.
I'd like to take the one for the template repository if it's in there.
It's in there. It's a little bit further down. Statistics unleash. Oh, I forgot to add it.
I'll add it.
Okay, thanks. But it's created, still not in this list. All right, then let's jump back to the issue on the top, the increased test coverage for the Helm service. Yeah, Andreas was doing a lot of work in regard to refactoring the Helm service, also to make it 0.8 compliant, and he had some spots not covered with tests, and this issue will be focused on increasing the test coverage of the Helm service. Is someone up for writing unit tests for the Helm service?
I can take this one.
Thanks, Bernd. All right, then let's continue with the Shipyard Controller. As I said, the Shipyard Controller also subscribes to triggered events that are defined in the shipyard. And whenever, formally we call them root events. And whenever such a trigger comes in, then the Shipyard Controller kicks off the execution of a sequence. Yeah, let me just jump over to this slide. I'm talking about this trigger event. Whenever the Shipyard Controller sees an event of the type of this type that is mentioned here, then it starts to work, and what it does is it sequentially executes those tasks. All right, who wants to work on that one?
I will take that one.
Thank you very much, Florian. All right, yeah, that actually was it, I think, from my end, because here is the issue that covers all the sub-issues that are then listed here. I think we don't need to assign them right now. When you have time available, please let me know which of those issues you want to work on, and then we will move it over.
Is anyone else wanting to work on any other issue, any good first issues or help wanted issues that are not listed in here? Or as always, just write your name or just say so in the issue and we'll assign it to you as quickly as we can. All right.
All right. Okay. Do we have additional announcements? No, not in this list. Then I think stay tuned about the 0.7.2 release that's coming out. And yeah, when there are no further questions, I think we are done today with the meeting.
I have a doubt. Yeah.
Okay.
So recently I was trying to use Grafana Helm chart with Keptn. So with Keptn there is a few requirements like the image or tag name should be in a values.yml, right? But with the open source Helm charts, there are most of the services will have a nested image and image values, keywords and tags. So I was not able to like deploy my open source Grafana Helm chart with Keptn. I need to make changes within the template for Grafana to onboard it via Keptn. Would it be possible for me to onboard such applications without manipulating their template?
It's hard to say, but we have a short guide, rather short guide, what you need to do if you want to deploy something existing, or rather we have like our own examples that we use. You basically cannot onboard just a Helm chart right now. There needs to be some specific requirements met. For instance, it's one service per Helm chart. So for instance, the cards microservice is one service in one Helm chart, and then the cards DB microservice is another Helm chart. That's one of the key requirements. And then we also have, I think, the requirement with the values YAML with the replica count, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, replica counts. Yes.
That's something you need to manually edit right now. So it's unfortunately not just deploying an existing Helm chart. It needs to be modified slightly. And if you just have Kubernetes deployment YAMLs, then you need to obviously convert them into Helm charts before.
Yeah, so when we use blue-green strategy, deployment strategy, in that case, like we need image and text particularly to create a new deployment, like primary or secondary deployment. So what if I don't want to create any deployment strategies and just need to onboard it directly on my cluster? Then we can bypass this check, right?
No, for blue-green deployment, you don't have to provide two deployments. You just need to provide once, and then Keptn takes care of creating the duplicate and creating the second one.
Yeah, that's what. But if I don't want to create a blue-green deployment, then Keptn needs not to create like another deployment for me. Like it can skip the checks where it checks for image and text and replica counts. It can directly onboard my application with the Helm chart that I have fed it with or passed it as input.
In theory, yes, but there are a couple of things in the background, like Istio virtual services that make it a little bit harder. The replica count also is not just for blue-green deployments, also for remediation actions. But yeah, I agree. You should not need those checks if you just do a direct deployment. As Johannes is showing, you can set the deployment strategy to blue-green or to direct in the Shipyard YAML. But I think the question of Ankit was more related to, does he need to have a very specific Helm chart if he only wants to use direct deployments? And I believe the answer is right now you will have you need those changes. It doesn't work without them, as far as I know. But you're right. If it's only a direct deployment, we could probably lift the requirement for those. But I'm not sure if there is no side effects. The Helm service itself is a little bit, let's say, not that simple to explain.
And to some extent opinionated in the sense of the Helm chart is allowed to contain just one deployment and one service.
But we can use this discussion maybe to formulate a story to have a Helm service that's not restrictive for such deployments. So maybe, so to say, an unopinionated Helm service, a secondary Helm service, whatever, drop-in replacement, something like that. And also with the upcoming changes in the Shipyard, so what we do for version 0.8, it will be much easier to just include another Helm service in the whole workflow, something that doesn't require such restrictive Helm charts, let's put it like this.
Sure. Thanks for the answer.
But as we're discussing this topic, let me just share you one thought about that, one additional thought, because there is the enhancement proposal. It's number 23 that slightly goes into this direction, but it's more about how we will deal with blue-green deployments in the future, and there is discussions going on whether we should rely on Argo rollouts for that, or we should build it by our own. And please check out this Keptn enhancement proposal. It's just it's a written document where you can read the idea, and please give us feedback, and we are more than happy to talk about that.
Sure. I'll give it a read.
But in the end, it totally would make sense if you could really just say, hey, Keptn, onboard my Helm chart.
Yes.
This could really be like a game changer for many people if you could use Keptn like that and not have to worry about any restrictions. Whether it's Argo rollout in the future or something else, yeah, that's just an additional use case then.
A little bit similar to what we've seen with Ryza.
Ryza as well. Ryza is an awesome tool, I think, in that sense. Could become the next go-to standard instead of Helm, maybe. Or in addition. All right.
Okay.
If there are no more questions, then let's wrap it up, I guess. So thanks everybody for your contributions and for your commitments for the next week. And I guess if there's nothing else to say, we will see each other next week.
See you.
Perfect. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See you.
Bye.
Yep.